In this lesson, we're going to learn about iteration, one of the three main programming constructs. So, what is iteration? Iteration means repeating a set of instructions multiple times. Instead of writing the same code again and again, programmers use iteration to make programs shorter, cleaner, and more efficient. Let's look at the example shown on the slide. The program uses a for loop with range 5. This tells the computer to repeat the instruction 5 times. Each time the loop runs, it prints the word hello. As a result, the output displays hello, 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 hello. The circular diagram illustrates how the computer repeats the same instruction again and again until it has completed all 5 repetitions. Remember this simple definition. Iteration is the process of repeating instructions multiple times. A loop is a programming structure that repeatedly executes a block of code. Let's follow the flowchart. The program begins at start. It executes the block of code once. Then it checks a condition. If the condition is true, the program goes back and executes the same block again. This process continues over and over while the condition remains true. When the condition becomes false, the loop stops and the program reaches end. Think of it like climbing stairs. You keep taking another step until you reach the top. In programming, the loop keeps repeating until the stopping condition is met. Loops save time, reduce repeated code, and make programs much more efficient. Now that we know what loops are, let's understand why loops are so important in programming. Loops allow programmers to repeat tasks efficiently without writing the same code over and over again. The first advantage is reducing duplicate code. Imagine you need to print the word hello 5 times. Without a loop, you would have to write the print statement 5 separate times. With a for loop, you only write the instruction once, and the computer repeats it automatically. The second advantage is saving time. Loops make programs quicker to write and much easier to run. Instead of copying and pasting code, programmers simply tell the computer how many times to repeat the task. The third benefit is improving efficiency. Loops are especially useful when working with large amounts of data or performing repetitive tasks. They allow the computer to complete these jobs with much less effort from the programmer. Finally, loops make programs easier to maintain. Shorter and cleaner code is easier to read, understand, debug, and update in the future. Remember, good programmers don't repeat code. They use loops whenever possible. There are 2 main types of iteration, also called loops in programming. These are definite iteration and indefinite iteration. Let's look at the first one. Definite iteration. A definite iteration repeats a block of code a known number of times. Before the loop starts, the program already knows exactly how many repetitions are needed. The most common example is a for loop. For example, if you want to print the numbers from 1 to 10, a for loop repeats exactly 10 times and then stops automatically. Indefinite iteration. The second type is indefinite iteration. Here, the program does not know in advance how many times the loop will run. Instead, it keeps repeating until a condition becomes false. The most common example is a while loop. Imagine a program asking the user to enter a password. If the password is incorrect, the program asks again. This continues until the correct password is entered. Once the condition is no longer true, the loop ends. Definite iteration is a type of loop where the code repeats a known number of times. Before the loop starts, we already know exactly how many times it will run. Because the number of repetitions is fixed, programmers usually use a for loop. Let's look at the example. The statement for I in range 1 to 6 repeats the instructions 5 times. During each repetition, the program prints the current value. The output is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After the 5th repetition, the loop automatically stops. A simple real-world example is printing the numbers from 1 to 5. Since we know there are exactly 5 numbers to print, a for loop is the best choice. Remember, definite iteration means the number of repetitions is known before the loop begins. What is indefinite iteration? Indefinite iteration is a type of loop where the code repeats until a condition becomes false. Unlike definite iteration, we do not know in advance how many times the loop will run. Because the number of repetitions is unknown, programmers usually use a while loop. Let's look at the example. The variable count starts at 1. The loop continues while count is less than or equal to 5. Each time the loop runs, it prints the current value and increases count by 1. The condition is checked again after every repetition. When the condition becomes false, the loop ends automatically. A real-life example is entering a password. If the password is incorrect, the program keeps asking again. The loop only stops when the correct password is entered. Remember, indefinite iteration means the loop continues until a condition becomes false, so the number of repetitions is not known in advance. What is a for loop? A for loop is a type of loop that repeats a block of code a fixed number of times. Before the loop begins, we already know how many times it will run. A for loop uses a loop counter to keep track of each repetition automatically. Let's look at the flowchart. The program starts by initializing the counter.